gratitude, thanking every single one of you for being here, our members, our long-term supporters, our funders, board, staff, volunteers, and for so many of those new to us, just the fact that you're willing to take this time to connect and sit in this virtual, beautiful circle to mark this moment with us really means a lot. There's always so much going on in our climate changed world, and today is no exception. There is a lot of pain and grief and suffering around. There's always so much to do, so much healing and change is needed. So I wanted to honour that before we begin, just to really highlight that you're showing up here today really speaks to the essence of what we all really do need at these times, which is deep care and compassion. So we're recording this, as I mentioned. I'll say that again for some of you who've just joined just now. Welcome in. We're recording it so that others who can't join us today can view it at their leisure. And we also really like interacting. Many of you know that's our style. So there will be a few little opportunities in this call where we can ask you questions, add your voice, but also, of course, please feel free to use the chat, and we'll try our best to respond to that in the chat. We've got so many of our team here today, Beth and Christy, Marie and Bridget, who can help respond to that as well. So today we will be sharing our new strategy, Care in Action, along with reflections from very special guest Tamsin Jones. But first, I'd like to invite Beth Hill, our programs lead, to offer us a grounding acknowledgement of country. Thanks so much, Beth. Over to you.
Thanks, Bron. Yeah, and hi, everyone. It's great to see, as Bron said, so many familiar, dear people and so many new faces too. So let's take a moment. I don't know what your morning's been. My morning's been a bit chaotic and busy. Let's take a moment just to arrive here, take in the other faces on this screen, feel our feet on the ground, maybe even push our feet into the ground just to remind our bodies that we are held. Perhaps take a breath if that's something that's supportive for you. And remembering and noticing where you are in time and space and place today. Thinking about the land that you're joining from, the history of that land, the people of that land, the traditional custodians. And we acknowledge all the lands and nations present here, as many of us are calling in from across Australia. We really invite you to also pop the lands that you're joining in from in the chat. It's a lovely way to show that acknowledgement, to presence that, but also for us to see where everybody is. We acknowledge Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and nations, their ongoing connection to the land, sea, and cultures. We pay our respects to elders past and present, and we extend that respect to any First Nations people joining us here today. We recognise that First Nations sovereignty was never ceded. This was and always will be Aboriginal land. So I'm here today on Wurundjeri country in Naarm by the bubbling Merry Creek. And I want to say Wamanjeka to you all, which means welcome in Wurundjeri Woiwurrung language. And I actually recently learned that it also means to come with purpose, or it's an invitation, come with purpose. And I feel like that's a nice way to lead us into our first question that we want to put to you about your sense of, really what inspired you to show up today? What purpose are you coming with to this space? And what would you like? What would you like out of today? What are you looking for? So Bron's just popped that in the poll, and you should be able to answer that question. And I think Christy will be sharing some of what people pop into that poll. While we're waiting on that, I'm going to have a look at all these different lands we're all coming in from. So Oh, there's a lot of us. Here we go. We've got Jinnabara Kubi Kubi land on the Sunshine Coast, Wodi Wodi land and Darawal country, Ngunnawal and Ngambri land. A few folks, quite a few of us down here in Wurundjeri country. One in Budja land, Margaret River, welcome. Our lovely folks in Western Australia joining here, smack bang at the beginning of their morning. And I think Bron's going to share this poll now. Bron, do you want to speak to that, or would you like me to read it out, or Christy?
Just really enjoying hearing your voice, Beth. If you can see it, love to hear you reading it out.
I see it. All right, so we've got feeling connected with others, willing to turn towards what's difficult. Here for hearing about the development of the work of PSC at this time. Someone else is sharing to feel some connection and shared purpose in this time, an opportunity to connect with like-minded people. Wanting to know more about PSC as I've just joined, welcome. As a newcomer, wanting to learn more. Someone else is saying they're here to listen with an open heart, to celebrate PSC, to support PSC. Thank you, it's so lovely. You can see there's a little word cloud going up the top too. That's cool. I didn't know that was a function of the poll. Learning new things all the time.
I'll end that poll now, but if you haven't had a chance, we'll just pop it in the chat because we don't want to lose that voice either. But I think I have to end it to stop sharing on my end. So there we go. Oh, so beautiful. Thank you so much, Beth, for that beautiful grounding and acknowledgement of country. So for those of you like me who like to know where we're going, this launch will go until about 5 to or 10 to the hour. And then many of you have also signed up for our AGM, which starts at 1 p.m. AEDT time. So you're also more than welcome to join that if you haven't signed up yet to stay on the call. But for our launch today, we're going to hear from Sally, who is a PSC board member, to set the scene. And then I'll share a very broad overview of the approach we're taking. And then Tamsin will share her reflections of this strategy and how it sits really within that broader ecosystem, particularly that role of care and compassion for leadership and change. And then we'll close again with another reflection and next steps. And I must say, like, our learning edge at PSC is being visible, and often we forget to take photos and capture these moments. So we do have Bridget in the background who will be taking a few little screenshots as we go. So we love seeing people and faces, and we really miss being in person. Next best thing is being here and showing up and using emojis. So we will be taking a few little photos here and there. And if you prefer not to be them, but you do want to keep your camera on, just let us know in the chat and we'll make sure that we protect that privacy for you. So now I'm going to introduce Sally Bash, who some of you may know. Sally joined PSC in 2023, bringing her expertise as a marine scientist, UN advisor, and adjunct associate professor at Monash Sustainable Development Institute. There's so much to say about Sal, but she is deeply committed to strengthening the well-being and resilience of climate professionals. She's been such a great support in our strategic, and so I'm so delighted to hand over to you now, Sal, to set the scene for us.
Thanks, Bron, and thanks to everybody who's joined us here from all the different lands you've come from. I'm sitting here on Wurundjeri land, and I'm super excited to be launching our 5-year strategy. So when I first began working in ocean conservation, as Bron said, there was almost no discussion about the emotional toll that environmental damage took on those of us who were working in the sector. And there was even less discussion about the impact of planetary health on the mental health of the broader community. But that didn't mean that no one was speaking about it. And 15 years ago, around Carol's kitchen table here in Melbourne, this conversation was happening, and it led to the establishment of PSC. So the combination of safe climate with psychology was talking about the dual concerns of advocating for action as well as understanding the psychological dimensions. I know some of you have been involved with PSC for a long time, others are really new here. So I'll give a bit of a snapshot of where we came from and then also where we're going here with this strategy. So PSC was an acknowledgement that both science and justice demanded that we move at an emergency speed to try and secure a safe future. And it's as relevant today as it was then. There's insufficient recognition that without inner resilience and connected communities, that we can't maintain a truly sustained response to the nature climate crisis. Without support, the toll on people working in this space is enormous. At the end of the day, no matter how rewarding it is, it's a really lonely, lonely place sometimes. It's true for everybody who works across the spectrum of climate and nature. So PSC's been around for a while. We've been mostly in the wings, showing up in moments that matter, joining conversations, advocating, offering communities, workshops in feeling and in healing. And for the first 10 years, we were purely volunteer driven, which is just incredible, really. And up until now, we've reached over 15,000 people. We've done workshops and climate cafes, and we have trained more than 500 climate aware professionals. Obviously, in that time, we've learned a lot. And this strategy reflects both the solid foundations of where we came from, but also our growth and our readiness to spread our wings. We are stepping into a vision of a safe climate for all life, shaped together with compassion. And the strategy is underpinned by the same understanding that motivated PSC's creators, which is that emotions move us and we move the climate. Scientific evidence and communication alone isn't enough to motivate change. So PSC exists hand in hand, recognising the emotional, psychological and spiritual experiences and stories. And from here came our mission to strengthen the emotional foundations of communities responding to the climate and nature crisis. Our growth supports this is an escalating need. From the kitchen table conversation led by the work of an incredible group of volunteers into a structured organisation, we now have permanent staff and a governing body. At the same time, unfortunately, the scale and breadth of the climate and nature crisis has also grown. So this strategy steps into that reality from a care in action perspective that Bron's going to talk about after me. Our new strategy is really a recognition of the complex linkages between human emotions and climate change, but it's also a call to action, a call to engage with and promote this truth to change makers. We advocate for mental health to be a permanent part of the climate policy landscape, to be an early part of the process of climate adaptation, not something that's tacked on as an afterthought at the end of an extreme weather event. We choose to engage in questions that matter. We joined the EcoMind campaign to advocate for climate science, not climate silence in schools. We know that our younger generation won't be empowered by having truth denied to them, but that they need to find positive ways to engage in understanding and shaping our planetary future. So in these and other ways, our strategy embraces advocacy and engagement as a key part of PSC's work, as well as moving towards our other forward-facing activities of responding to climate distress through facilitated workshops, cafes, and practitioner training. So I am super proud of this strategy. It wasn't a fast process. We took our time, we went deep into really difficult questions, and we also grew in the process as well. PSC has a really difficult task. We draw together two areas of practice from really distinct and evolving languages with specialised meanings. Mental health and environmental and climate science are not talked about enough together in the same conversation. And that's what our strategy seeks to combine, these two technical areas, and to translate them into a language every day that the wider community we can serve can use. These diverse areas of knowledge were reflected in our discussions and in the breadth of our views, priorities, and understanding. We worked really, really hard to make this diversity a strength rather than an impediment in crafting our strategy. And we emerged with a single vision for PSC and a shared concept as to how we'd achieve it. In our strategy are all of our voices, those of our board and our staff, as well as our volunteers, our community, and our partners who engaged with us. It contains the knowledge, the creativity, and the wisdom of all of our people. As a board, we were really united and passionate about achieving this strategy, but it speaks really differently to each of us. It tells each of our individual truths of how we see PSC improving the lives of people and the planet. PSC is also breaking some really new ground, not only in Australia but globally. There is no other climate mental health organisation that has the same breadth of focus that we have. Even though not created with the explicit intent, through our action we're paving new ways of existing as a dual mental health and planetary health focused organisation. But this launch is just one step in a really long journey that we hope that we will take together with all of you. We look forward to bringing our strategy to life, and to do this we need continued engagement and support in whatever forms you can provide. We need financial, emotional, participatory and leadership in all its different shapes, from showing up and being part of an engaged PSC community to the ongoing financial support that's essential for us to maintain our staff and our work. So once again, thank you all for being here. Thank you for your part in PSC's journey. And I'm really excited to pass back to Bron, our CEO, who's been phenomenal in shepherding this process and is going to unveil all the details of our strategy. Thanks, Bron.
Oh, so much love there for you in the room, Sally. Thank you so much for speaking on behalf of the board and the organisation and really setting that tone. I almost forgot to change the slides because I was just so deeply listening to you. So I'm here now to offer a brief tour of our strategy, hoping that it saves many of you busy minds the trouble of reading it. But if you do have like a spare 30 minutes, 20 minutes to read through our strategy, I really do encourage you, because it really does speak to our story. And it really provides that narrative of why this work is so crucial at this time and why we need so many people invested into it. So I wanted to begin this story really with acknowledging something we all know, that all of us are on a climate journey. Every single one of us in the room is grappling with a complex world in flux and trying our very best to live with care and purpose and contribute amid that reality. At PSC, we deeply believe that it's not what we do that matters, but how we do it. So what is at the heart of our vision and focus of our strategy is a deep consideration of what enables effective and regenerative climate action, actions that are life-affirming and protect planetary health, including emotional health. I know we've all experienced and seen climate actions that leave us, so many people, feeling uplifted, inspired, and connected. And I also know that so many of us have experienced firsthand and witnessed how easily good intentions can lead to exhaustion, tensions, empathy fatigue, and burnout. What's really helped me, and I know so many others, is making time to validate our feelings, to connect with others and make sense of these common conundrums. PSC has been there for me and so many other people and groups. PSC, by showing up and shining a light on the psychological realms of responding to the climate reality, through this, we're gradually embedding a more expansive idea of climate action, one that includes listening, reflection, ceremony, and support as essential ingredients for societal transformation. There's always so much to do and so many ideas. And as Sal mentioned, we really took the time to consider, where is PSC best placed to help? What is our unique role in this climate movement ecosystem? So for those of you who really are a bit nerdy like me and love process, this slide reflects our journey to this strategic plan and to answering some of those questions. So we really began with those solid foundations and reviewing the work of many years to think about what are the trends, what are the needs. We asked our members what they think is needed and what our role is. Staff and board came together. We chose a facilitator with regenerative practice principles, Tyler Key, who helped us reflect on who are we now, who do we serve, and to explore the realms of vitality, viability, and evolution. Through this whole process to now, what we really clarified were three nested needs, three priority areas. The first priority area was a recognition that the climate and nature crisis grows heavier. It weighs heavier on us each year. There are widespread feelings of grief, of anxiety, trauma, frustration, and so much more in our emotional ecosystem. Every time we ask groups, what emotions they notice, the diversity is striking, way beyond the common triad of anxiety, despair, and hope. These are 3 word clouds from 3 different groups, an environmental group, education, and one health group, responding to the same question: what climate emotions do you notice or feel? For many, this is both confronting and a huge relief, especially when done with people they know. There's something revolutionary about holding feelings together rather than me holding my feelings in private. Because these emotions, whether they're voiced or not, they exist under the surface and they're felt in us and between us. So making them visible like this helps normalize and destigmatize our emotional reactions, opens new pathways for us to really understand and offer peer support. The problem is what we notice with the spaces and moments like this really do remain very rare. Many people tell us they feel isolated, and this we know contributes to psychological distress. We so often hear that action is the antidote to anxiety, and no doubt action plays a role, especially when action is grounded in care. But all of us, I imagine on this call, devoted to this work, know how these powerful feelings persist even when we're taking action. Action alone is not enough. Emotional support is also needed. So finding these spaces dedicated to listening, feeling, and sense making, this is what we're calling for. This is collective emotion regulation. And that, paired with a worldview that embraces emotions not as problems to be fixed, not as separate from climate work, but as powerful strengths to harness, these are the 2 key ingredients that will provide relief to a pressured system. So our first strategic action area really focuses on scaling up these peer supports and offering spaces for climate emotions. Our climate cafes, I know many of you on the call are climate cafe facilitators, would love to see a heart from all of those who are. This is really embodying our first action area. In feedback, 95% of participants feel less isolated through attending. Just last week, a participant reflected in a climate cafe, it's almost like our isolation is by design. It's as if those in power don't want us to realize we feel this way. So these conversations become acts of resistance to a culture of separation. Here are just a handful of what people are saying after being in a cafe, and it's really evidence, growing evidence of how powerful peer interventions and emotional spaces can be. We also recognise that so many of us, and certainly I myself, have really benefited also from one-on-one support. People tell us that when they reach out for help, that practitioners are often unfamiliar or untrained in climate emotions and impacts. You'll also hear a lot from practitioners, from therapists, psychologists, health practitioners in the field who themselves are struggling and significantly impacted by climate. So a major need moving forward to boost this area of providing relief is to add avenues of support and build the capabilities of the workforce with climate-aware practices. The second priority area that we're focused on and we're so passionate about is burnout in the climate movement. Burnout is impacting our collective efficacy. Since our very first burnout workshop that Carol and Ben ran in Maules Creek protest camp back in 2012, we've seen that burnout is not an exception, but almost an expectation in this field. Over time, it has become woven into this story of what it means to care, so much so that it can seem inevitable, but it really shouldn't be. Our sector is not alone. Across Australia, there is a broader trend happening where workplaces, half the workforce reported some experience of burnout in the past year. We feel, and what we're noticing, that this is especially acute for some sectors, particularly those working or volunteering in climate and health and environment, where challenges require us to face the climate reality, to experience and be with and witness trauma, to have unrelenting things to do and feeling under-resourced. So that's why our second area of our strategy is about building cultures of compassion and psychological skills, tending to the underlying causes and currents of burnout. We're really keen to democratise access to this practical psychosocial skills building program so that we can disrupt the cycle of burnout and create conditions for emotional well-being. A critical element then is ensuring smaller not-for-profits, communities and grassroots groups who rarely have resources for psychosocial skill building are included. So building these skills and fostering these cultures really are the foundation for sustainable and regenerative climate action. The third key priority that we identified throughout our process was advocacy. Both climate change and poor mental health stem from shared root causes that are psychological and social in nature. Cultural and relational patterns of separation, patriarchy, colonization, systems that perpetuate inequality and disconnection, these are what drive poor outcomes all round. So over the years, PSC has contributed to advocacy efforts, but really now we're looking to formalise this. So our third action area is really focused on empowering systems, and a play on words, emotionally powering, really lifting up systems change to bring this intersectional lens between climate action and population wellbeing. So as we did this strategy, what emerged for us was that it really clarified that our unique approach is anchored into these two interwoven principles, fostering care on the one hand and enabling action on the other. Both are essential, neither can succeed in isolation. Our aim through this strategy is to create this positive cycle where stronger mental wellbeing empowers more effective climate action, and compassionate engagement in climate solutions in turn deepens psychological resilience. So bringing this together really is, there is a plan on a page that has that top level view. You can see the vision and mission that Sal spoke to, really to enable our vision and to move us into our mission. We needed some very specific core values around compassion and community, integrity, inner transformation, eco-connection. You can see then these three key action areas that I spoke to, and really the connection with the strategic ambitions that we're really striving for here. And of course, we can't do this without a lot of help. So we've got some enablers here that are really crucial to making us viable and evolving this work. If you do read the strategy, you'll also notice a few highlights. We've highlighted three different parts of our work, and particularly the parts that we're really hoping to scale up through our strategy. I know that's a lot to absorb, but I hope it does give you a little bit of a flavour of what is in the strategy. It's definitely a bird's eye view. And before welcoming Tamsin to speak, I really do just want to reiterate our gratitude to the board. I really want to say thank you so much to our very small team. It's astonishing what we've accomplished. We've really rolled up our sleeves. We've all been in the grassroots in our communities for decades tending to this work. So really special shout out to Maria, Christy, Beth, Bridget, Laura. Your hearts and minds inspire me every single day. Thank you so much. Lots of love for you. I'm now so delighted and so pleased that Tamsin's photograph matches our colour scheme. Well done, Tamsin. I'm so delighted to invite Tamsin in. She brings a wealth of relational experience, strategy experience, and I know commitment to inner work and outer change. She's the program lead with Small Giants Academy, who have been major contributors connecting wisdom and action through forums and podcasts and training. I must say, the first time I met Tamsin, I'm not sure if you remember this, but you offered me the most welcoming, warm smile. You embraced me in a hug and instantly made me feel safe, welcomed, and valued. And to me, that is a little glimmer and moment of care in action. Tamsin, thank you so much for joining, and so looking forward to hearing about your reflections.
It's a mutual love club, Bronwyn. We're all in this together for sure. Just wanted to say what extraordinary work you do, and just how much of that effort has gone into creating this incredible document, which is a story and a vision, and it's a complex space. So to be able to weave it together in such a profoundly beautiful and compelling way is just a huge achievement. So well done to all of you. So I'm going to just start by just taking us back to 2021. And that's when the Mastery of Business and Empathy launched. It was the end of COVID period. I wasn't in Melbourne at the time, I was in London, but we hosted a cohort of leaders wanting to blend wisdom and empathy for 1 year online. They fell in love with each other. They transformed their businesses. They created seeds that have grown into large trees, of which lots of people play under now. But I remember arriving back from London, having come because I really wanted to centre care, and this program was really doing that with business leaders. And I was there the first day that this cohort met after 10 months of being together. They walked into the White House, which is the name of our building. Maybe it sounds a bit funny now, given what's going on in the actual White House, where we live. And they came in and they kind of like touched each other, like, I know you, but you're taller than I thought, and you're shorter than I thought. But I don't even, my nervous system doesn't even know how to do this thing anymore. And how do I sit with this? And it was so profound because of the nature of COVID. It made it so clear. But I think probably all of us can reflect that actually this experience is happening almost every day, as we're on our phones, as we're virtual, we are needing to cultivate and understand what it means to relate to each other in new ways. And so I wanted to bring that up before I introduce it. I'm going to share a bit of the journey of Small Giants, a bit of some of the work that we're doing, and also sort of share some of the insights and evolutions that I've seen over the last 5 years that really led me to reach out to Bronwyn and to engage in this extraordinary work that you're all doing. About me, just briefly, I've been working for a couple of decades. I only do things I care about. So care is like at the center. Anyone that would read what I've done, they'd be like, well, how did you? I'm like, I just really wanted to. Like, that is my modus. Like, I feel like we have such capacity to create, but we have to actually fully understand the potential. And so for me, everything I do is around finding that most awake thing in you that you can go out and do in the world, because that we know can be a huge source of energy for us, but also is the source of systems change energy. For a period there, I was working on an initiative to bring more women into boardrooms. And so we ended up with 1,000 women across 50 countries. We were placing them into these boardrooms. And through this process, I was kind of coaching them a bit, like, why are you here? What do you want to do? What do you want to get out of this? And at the end, they always said, I thought I could centre care, but it wasn't welcome in these spaces. And so the question I came to Small Giants with is, where is our care, our passion, our love of a tree, our love of our environment? Where is that welcome, and how can we make it more welcome in places like C-suites, in local councils, in leadership conversations? How do we bring that to the fore? And so Small Giants itself is an academy focused on wisdom and action. I love these pieces of peer support and burnout and all these different community elements, because I do think that for us, we are not just an organization that focuses on helping leaders to step out into systems that are challenging, but we create system dynamics in our very programs. And when people say, is there anyone going to be in the program like me? We'll say no. And so in our climate program, we had Dirk Girl from the ABC, and we had Joe, who runs Defence for the Pacific. And each of these people were having these conversations. And so for me, when we were designing our Climate Leadership Accelerator program, the big question was, how do we bring people into spaces where they're willing to be changed and to listen to each other? And I started a conversation with someone called Claire O'Rourke. Does anyone know Claire O'Rourke here? She's an amazing environmental leader. And she was sharing with me about her book. She did our Mastery of Business and Empathy. And she said, you've got to meet Psychology for a Safe Climate. You've got to connect with them. They're so essential for this work. These climate cafes, like this process really was pivotal to the way that I was able to come out of climate grief and others. And so we brought Bronwyn into this conversation. And before we dove into discussions around the kind of the mind, we have this sort of concept of mind, heart, and body, you know, head, heart, and hands. Like we're trying to connect those things optimally at the same time, but we need to bring those things into the room. So before we went too much into what is it that you think you want, what is it that you think you need, how are we gonna, you know, we just said, well, how do you feel? Like, can you even connect into your heart space? And I don't know if you remember this bit, Bronwyn, but I was facilitating and I started crying because it was just such a rare thing to be offered the space to share that. And I remember standing back in front of the room with tears in my eyes thinking, why is this not the way we can communicate? What are we filtering actually when we don't express the emotional layer of the conversation? And what does that mean? So I guess for us in Small Giants, we think a lot about what it means to create the leaders that we need for tomorrow. And this is CEOs, artists, policymakers, climate activists, business owners, because these systems that are changing around us are not linear, they are deeply interconnected. And so we bring those people together to try to create what we call more hopeful leadership. There are some challenges to the water that we're swimming in. Last night I hosted a session on climate leadership accelerator and on brave conversations. And when you ask people to share a conversation that they would like to have, but they're not brave enough to have, a lot of people start to implode on themselves. Like, I should be able to do this. Why can't I do this? What is happening to me? And it often comes up that the script is always already written before they've walked into the room, that somehow this water we're swimming in is challenging. The challenges of living online, the challenges of fragility that comes from identity. And we're even taking a trip to Uganda in a couple of weeks. And one of the people we're talking to is a storyteller, and she said, there's this challenge that is undermining community dynamics, and it is identity. So how do we understand the identities we're creating? How do we understand the identities around us? Truths and belief, we live in this post-truth era. So how does that ability to understand and believe what's going on, how does that affect our psychology and the way that we're engaging? So there are these many things that for us are like the water we're swimming in. And I think more time spent to understand the cultural dynamic, to understand our role in that cultural dynamic, to understand our own inner stories. All of those things are essential before we even step into the role of leadership. And it's a lifelong journey. You know, it's not something that you can develop overnight. So over the 5 years of the MBE, we've now had 180 people through the program, incredible people like Claire, who I've mentioned, others in the climate movement like Richie, Merzian. We've seen a real change. I would say in year one, there was a kind of an activist flavor of let's just kind of jump in and change it and all of that. But through that 5-year period, we've noticed that the need to create and cultivate very conscious spaces that allow people to even connect with each other before we dive into any conversation. And so we've actually been gradually going through a redesign of our whole program where we start with deep, deep connection, conversation before we dive into those broader topics. Or even in a course like a Master of Business and Empathy, you can see that people are just coming in unwilling or even unable potentially to be able to listen and connect. And we know, I think everyone in this room, what happens if you've got a leader with the capacity and the nervous system and the calmness and the skills to be able to be present in diverse and broad conversations. And for us, that is absolutely what system leadership looks like. So I guess to close out, because I know there's a lot of conversation to be had tonight, I just want to say that I feel like this work is really just the beginning of what we're going to need to be able to respond to the issues that the world is facing. The leaders in the rooms that we're in, they are deeply aware of this, and those that aren't go on quite a journey with us. And we are facilitators, we're guides, we're coaches, but we're not psychologists. And we need the most extraordinary psychologists that can sit with people so that they can work on their inner stories, come to specific spaces with highly technical and skilled people to help. And I think together, working on these kinds of things, we're going to be able to create the genuine change that's been outlined by Psychology for a Safe Climate. So perhaps on that, I'll close and just reflect on one conversation that someone had last night on our climate program. She said, emotions move us and we need those emotions. And perhaps the most important conversation that I should be having is with myself. So how do I start there? Bronwyn, thanks for inviting me into this. It's been a real pleasure to share with you guys.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much, Tamsin. What a journey you just took us on. So many beautiful gems within that. And yes, emotions do move us. We move climate. That's become our tagline. Beautiful creative creation through Bridget, our comms coordinator. Thank you so much for coming up with that tagline, because it's a bit poetic and it can mean lots of different things, but that's the point. That's the invitation, sort of like a koan. It just it reveals more and more the deeper you think about that, and the deeper we connect with this reality that it's through our sensory body, through our spirit, through our hearts that we're deeply moved, and that's what sustains us in this action. So thank you so much for your time, Tamsin. Just hearing about some of the stories and the what people are faced with when they engage in this inner work for outer change. It's really it's what we see too in our workshops. So so many parallels, and totally agree. It's just the beginning. I know so many people on this call also do work in the emotion space from all different sort of mental health professional backgrounds, all forging this beautiful emergent work together. So we will be finishing up soon, and feel free to add any questions in the chat as we go. I can see one in there from Michelle, and yes, you've got quite a few hearts there, and I'm sure you get many more as people read that chat. Certainly what we've been doing at PSC is really trying to support a lot of the advocacy groups. We're not primarily an advocacy group, but we do have an advocacy arm, and in our strategic work, we're really seeing the need for us to find a way to add our voice in, and to think about what is PSC's role in advocacy. How do we support those who are advocating for the big changes that we need, because they're the people who we're trying to support to prevent burnout, because frankly, they're the people that we need. But also, you know, if PSC were to step more forwardly into the advocacy space, what is it that what's the piece that we need to add that's perhaps different to the advocacy groups out there? So it's a bit of a learning journey for us. And I invite you, if you're a member or if any members are here, that you contribute to that conversation. We've got an advocacy and thought leadership committee now with quite a few different volunteer members. And through that committee, we'll be beginning to ask our members some questions and to listen and to really get clear on what we can do as an organisation in this mental health climate promotion space. So what can we, I guess, what's happening next? I'm just going to share my screen again. Actually, I'm going to put the poll up, because we're really wanting to find a little reflection from you. It feels, I'd love to hear your voices and how we're checking out as we finish up today, really thinking about, you know, every single climate solution depends on people, that depends on you, it depends on me. And so we just wanted to ask this reflective question of what inequalities, what acts of care, what inequalities, what values, what emotions support you to show up when taking climate action. Whether your climate action is talking to your local PMs, is your parenting, is signing petitions, is volunteering for other climate organisations, is working in the space. What inequalities, values, emotions support you to show up when taking climate action? And if you've got the space, you know, what conditions enable that to happen? If you need courage, if you need clarity, if you need calm, you know, what conditions outside of you enable that to happen? And I'll just start sharing the results. so that you can have a look. And we will share these in our follow-up email as well, so that you'll all have the checkout reflections as well as the check-in. So hopefully you can see that now: openness, non-attachment, love, compassion, community sharing, conditions, meditation. Yeah. Belief in community, determination, calm and centered, determined. There's so many there. And so many of these are so important. They're part of the beautiful diversity of our inner life. So I will stop sharing that for now, but please do keep adding in as we go. And with that, we come to a close. And we say goodbye to each other. And so just invite you, whether that's like in the chat, or whether it's just popping your camera on and smiling and farewelling each other, just really having a beautiful way we can just acknowledge each other for coming into this circle today, for taking the time. And thank you all so much for being such supporters of our organisation and this work that I know you're all doing in your own lives as well. We really appreciate you.